Let's talk about trauma for a minute. People undergo trauma and it affects everything. They can sometimes freeze and not be able to function in life. And at those times, we need to really be there for that person, to give them the space till they can, much like the Jewish nation, finally scream out and acknowledge their pain and talk about it a little bit and give them the time to be there and to be helpful and to help them the capacities that they need, that they may not be able to function like everybody else. But God tells us a lesson in this week's Parsha that if you really love and care about a person, about the whole person, you want to help them slowly but surely restore them to their capabilities, to be able to take control of their own lives and to act and to feel like they won't be controlled by that trauma, where they can acknowledge it and they can take it and live with it in a way that motivates them and helps them to move on in ways that will be helpful for their future. And this is what I think is being told to us in this week's Parsha when God tells Moses and Aharon to count all the men who are eligible for army age. When God took them out of Egypt, he did so miraculously. He didn't ask them to all take up arms and to make a rebellion, which could have been also. But he understood. He understood that they were in years of enslavement and that they just didn't have the wherewithal, mentally, the capacity to do such a thing. They had to go through certain stages. They had to go stages of screaming out, of seeing their enemies' demise, of seeing God's hand, that God is with them, of spending day after day in a place, in a barren place, and surviving and slowly regaining that confidence to be able to take control of their own lives. And that's why God finally here tells them now that they've come to this point and they've gone through all that, and God's been there and nurtured them and taken care of them every step of the way. But now it's time to know that they count, and they counted everybody to show that they do count the nation, and they show them that each individual not only counts, but counts by name, by virtue of who they are. They have this duality that everybody needs to know that they're one of a nation, they're a part of something, and that their own individual matters by their name, by who they are, by what they have to contribute. And even if they're all doing the same job, everybody does things in a way that's uniquely their own and that helps to uplift everybody else, because we need a support system. So I think that this is a lesson for us and for people around us. And when I talk about trauma, it doesn't have to be something on such a high level. Unfortunately, we know many people who really did suffer real traumatic events on such a difficult level. But even on a smaller level, with the individuals in your life who have gone through something that's extraordinarily difficult, to have the patience to be there with them and sit with them through and be helpful in the capacity that they might need at that time. But, help them to get to the stage where they can be a one, they can be a part, they can be a soldier in their army of life, meaning that they can take up their arms, all their capacities, all their talents, all their abilities, and use them to build a future for themselves, and not to have to rely on other people, because it is not good for one's self-esteem, for one's morale, or for society at all, to have people who just feel they've been a victim and need to be taken care of the rest of their life. And I think this is a message that God gives to our nation, to encourage us and to give us strength and motivation and the knowledge that given time and the right helpful environment, people can go on to move on from trauma. They can build from it, and they can make an amazing future for them and the people around them, together with the other people, the other nation who will support them through it as they support them as well. Shabbat Shalom.